Toyota Innova is the king of all MPVs, and the biggest proof of that is the nickname that it has gotten here in the Philippines. They call this the national photo bomber of the Philippines. You just see so much of these cars and they're just so reliable to the point that everyone pretty much needs one of them. But things are about to change because of a newcomer in the industry. Here we have the Geely Okavango Urban Plus going up against the Toyota Innova G. Then I'm going to show you around these two cars, then compare them for you. So stay tuned. First thing I have to get out of the way before people bash me, I have to clarify that this is a 2019 Innova, not a 2021. Why? Because there's really not that much different aside from their grills. Anyway, let's start with the styling of both of these cars on the exterior. The Innova, either it's a little bit too conservative or we're just way too used to them because of how much there is of them on the road. So your grill, it's just a standard grill. Your lights too, they're just regular halogen lights. Same thing with your fog lights. But the very moment you go on to the Geely Okavango, you have a nice design that's so different from your typical MPV. So you get your Geely corporate expanding Cosmos grille, you have a camera over there for your 360-degree view camera, you get ADB adaptive LED headlights, and you also get LED fog lights as you go. Profile of the Innova is the textbook definition of an MPV. There's absolutely no lines pretty much to break up any of the styling, so it's pretty close to a box on wheels, just next to something like a full-size minivan like the Toyota Hiace or the Hyundai Starex. Now you do get the disc brakes up front, but unfortunately you only get drum brakes at the rear and you only get 16-inch rims. The very moment you come over here to the back of the Innova, and the only thing I like about it is that these lights over here, they are pretty big, so you will not miss them from afar. However, everything else at the back is just your typical MPV look. Very conservative and very understated. But now we move on over to the Okavango, and you get 18-inch rims on this car. You get disc brakes for both the front and back, and most importantly, it looks more like an SUV rather than an MPV. But do take note that based on the chassis of this car, it is most definitely not an SUV. Then, when you get to the back of the Okavango, yes, it's also an understated design, but it does look a little bit more different than your typical MPV. It reminds me more of like a wagon. So in terms of styling overall, I would give that point to the Geely Okavango. The Toyota Innova is powered by a 2.8-liter 1GD FTV turbocharged diesel engine, which produces 172 horsepower and 360 Nm of torque. This is the same engine you will find in the 2.8 variant of the Toyota Fortuner, albeit just a little bit detuned. Coming on over to the Geely Okavango, and what you get instead is a very small 1.5-liter turbocharged gasoline engine producing 190 horsepower and 300 Nm of torque. This is also mated to a mild hybrid system called the 48-volt electric motor synergy drive, making this car very efficient. Now, if I am to pick between these two cars, I would say that it's rather fair because the Innova has more torque, but the Geely Okavango has more power. While I wouldn't call the interior of the Innova cheap feeling, it's definitely not a premium feeling place to be in. So up top, on the side, and even in the center, and generally the entire car is filled with hard touch plastic. Your steering wheel, while you do get a nice wooden trim up above, the general padding of the leather around it is a little bit cheap feeling and it's just not premium feeling. Your instrument cluster is a very basic instrument cluster. You get a center screen though, and that's the only place where two small blips pop out as you press your eco and power mode buttons. To the center of everything, you have a 6.75-inch infotainment system that is also touchscreen, and at least for the 2021 year model Innova, you do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which the Geely Okavango doesn't have. However, it's a little bit small and it's a little bit hard to use when you are driving. Down here, you get your traditional shifter, so nothing fancy about that, a traditional handbrake, and of course your seats. While these are covered in seat covers right now, I can assure you that they are only cloth and not leather. Finally, I would like to talk about how dark this car is because it is tinted. And I would love to open up my panoramic sunroof, but I forgot. The Innova doesn't have one. The interior of the Okavango is definitely a premium place to be. So up top and on the side, you do get hard touch materials, but everywhere else, it's nice, well-padded leather. Your steering wheel, your seats, this center armrest, everything just feels premium. You have a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster that is also customizable using the swivel wheel in the center. You have a 10.25-inch infotainment display. It's a touchscreen and it also comes with a 360-degree view camera. You get an electronic shifter right here. You get an electronic parking brake with auto hold, and you also get a big panoramic sunroof up top. In terms of safety, this car gets 6 airbags all around the car. So for tech and the interior, I'll definitely give that point to the Geely Okavango. Now let's talk about the practicality of these cars. First, let's open this one up. You do get a power tailgate, which to my book can sometimes be a little bit of a hassle depending on how slow it is. Now with the third row seats down and the second row seats down, you're looking at over 2,050 liters of space. However, you can only carry 7 people with this car. The very moment you go on over to the Innova, you have a much faster and easier to open manual tailgate. But unfortunately in this car, you only get 1,128 liters with these third row seats up and the second seats down. Now, what's also annoying with the Innova is since the seats don't fold flat and they move over to the side, it does limit the types of items that you can fit back here. However, this car can seat 8 people. So in terms of practicality, I think I'll take a little bit less cargo room than people carrying space, so the Innova wins with this one. Let's start the driving segment with the Toyota Innova. So this car is powered by a 2.8 liter turbo diesel, which makes like 360 Newton meters, which means that there is a lot of torque behind this car. Put it into eco mode, everything slows down. Put it into power mode, and yes, there is a lot of torque, but it doesn't really kick you back to your seat because the 6-speed automatic transmission, it is a bit slow. It's not the most responsive. It's nowhere near like a dual clutch system. But that is fine because it is an MPV after all, and it's not a sports car. It's very comfortable. It's very jumpy. However, it's not jarring in any way. Very MPV indeed. Driving dynamics overall, typical MPV. It's a very boaty ride. There's a lot of body roll. Steering is also imprecise. One thing you like about the Innova is that it can return you around 8.8 to 9 kilometers per liter on the city and all the way up to like 16 on the highway. So this car is very efficient and it's good for having 8 people and transporting your family. Hopping into the driver's seat of the Geely Okavango Urban Plus, you get a totally different sensation that you will have from the Toyota Innova. This thing just doesn't feel as heavy as that car. It feels tighter as well. Granted, in terms of comfort, it's a little bit less comfortable because your suspension, it is a little bit stiffer. So some road imperfections, you'll feel it a little bit more in this car compared to that. But since you do get that stiffer suspension, there's less of that jumpy and bouncy feeling. So if you're someone who gets car sick a lot or get that seasick feeling that makes you want to throw up, this is the car to get. It really does not feel like an MPV. It feels like you are driving a wagon. As I turn this like fast corner right here, this is an MPV, but it handles really well. Then your 1.5 liter system with a mild hybrid. You think that it's going to be slow, but it's not. Put this car into sport mode coupled with your dual clutch transmission, and wow, this car is proper fast. This is really something that you will not expect from an MPV, and you will be very tempted to floor this car all the time. Despite this having 60 Newton meters less torque, it's a lot more responsive and you feel like you have much more usable torque, again because of that mild hybrid system, which can deliver an instant 13 horsepower and 50 Newton meters of torque from the get-go. Now, when you are not tempted, or rather, when you fight the temptation to be flooring this car all the time, this car can actually return 7.5 kilometers per liter on the city and 13.5 kilometers per liter on the highway. Despite that slightly lower fuel economy figures, when it comes to driving, this is definitely the winner. Some wheel spin right there. Before I get to a conclusion, I'd like to talk about the prices and warranty of both of these cars. The Innova comes in at 1.607 million pesos and also gets a 3-year or 100,000 kilometer warranty. Meanwhile, the Geely Okavango Urban Plus comes at 1.478 million pesos and also has a 5-year or 150,000 kilometer warranty. So while we don't know which one exactly is the best for you, with better styling, better driving dynamics, better technology as well, and a much more modern design, I know what I want.